The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the marble floors of Prestige department store as Captain Lisa Rodriguez stepped through the revolving doors. After 15 years of dedicated service to the Metro City Police Department, she had finally reached the rank of captain, becoming one of the few women of color to hold such a position in the department. Today was supposed to be a quick shopping trip during her lunch break. Her daughter Ashley was graduating from college next week, and Lisa wanted to find something special to mark this milestone. Lisa walked through the store wearing her favorite casual outfit, a simple navy blazer over dark jeans and comfortable flats. She had left her uniform at the station, looking forward to these rare moments when she could just be a regular person shopping like everyone else. The jewelry section caught her eye as she passed by the gleaming display cases filled with watches, necklaces, and bracelets that sparkled under the bright lights. She paused at a display of elegant gold watches, thinking about how proud she was of Ashley's accomplishments. Her daughter was the first in their family to graduate from college, and Lisa wanted to give her something meaningful that she could keep forever. The price tags made her pause. These were expensive pieces, but Ashley deserved something special. After all her hard work. From across the store, Officer Jake Williams was finishing his patrol when he noticed Lisa examining the jewelry. Something about her made him stop and watch. In his 8 years on the force, Williams had developed what he called his sixth sense about people who looked suspicious. He prided himself on being able to spot trouble before it happened. Though his definition of trouble often seemed to focus on certain types of people, Williams observed Lisa as she moved from one display case to another, taking her time to examine different pieces. He noticed how she checked the price tags and seemed to be calculating something in her head. To him, this looked like someone planning something dishonest. The fact that she was dressed casually in an upscale store only added to his suspicions. Lisa continued browsing, unaware that she was being watched. She found a beautiful gold bracelet with a small charm that reminded her of Ashley's childhood dreams of becoming a doctor. The price was higher than she had planned to spend, but the piece was perfect. She called over a sales associate to ask about the bracelet. "Could I take a closer look at this one?" Lisa asked politely, pointing to the bracelet behind the glass. The sales associate, Jennifer, smiled warmly. "Of course, that's one of our most popular pieces. It's 18-karat gold with genuine diamonds in the charm." As Jennifer unlocked the case and carefully lifted out the bracelet, Williams decided he had seen enough. He approached them with the confident stride of someone who believed he was about to prevent a crime. His hand instinctively moved closer to his radio as he walked across the store floor. "Excuse me," Williams said loudly, his voice carrying across the jewelry section. Several other customers turned to look at the commotion. "I need to see some identification." Lisa looked up, surprised by the interruption. She could immediately tell from his uniform and badge that he was a police officer, though she didn't recognize him from her own department. "I'm sorry, is there a problem, officer?" "I said I need to see some ID," Williams repeated, his tone becoming more aggressive. "And I need to see your receipt for any items you've purchased." Jennifer, the sales associate, looked confused. "Officer, she hasn't purchased anything yet. We were just looking at this bracelet." "I wasn't talking to you," Williams snapped, keeping his eyes fixed on Lisa. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to see some identification right now." Lisa felt her heart rate increase, but she kept her voice calm and professional. Years of training and experience had taught her how to handle tense situations, even when she was the one being questioned. "Of course, officer. May I ask what this is about?" "Just show me your ID," Williams demanded. Lisa reached into her purse and pulled out her wallet, extracting her driver's license and her police identification card. She held both out to Williams, hoping that seeing her badge would clear up whatever misunderstanding had occurred. Williams glanced at the driver's license but barely looked at the police ID. "This looks fake," he said dismissively, handing the cards back to her. Nice try, but I've seen plenty of fake badges before. Officer, that's my official police identification, Lisa said, her voice remaining steady despite her growing concern. I'm Captain Lisa Rodriguez with Metro City Police Department. Badge number 4457. Right, Williams said with a sarcastic laugh. And I'm the police chief. Look, lady, I don't know what kind of game you're trying to play here, but it's not going to work with me. By now, other customers had stopped their shopping to watch the scene unfold. Several people had their phones out, some already recording the interaction. Lisa was acutely aware of the growing audience, knowing that any wrong move could be captured and shared online within minutes. Jennifer tried to intervene again. Officer, I can vouch for this customer. She's been in our store many times before, and she's always been respectful and honest. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step back, Williams said to Jennifer. This doesn't concern you. Lisa took a deep breath, trying to maintain her composure. Officer Williams, she said, reading his name tag. I understand you're doing your job, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. If you'd like to verify my identity, you can call the Metro City Police Department and ask for Captain Rodriguez. Oh, so now you know my name, Williams said, his suspicion growing. How convenient. And how do you know I won't just call and tell them exactly what you told me to say? The situation was spiraling out of control, and Lisa could see that reasoning with Williams was becoming impossible. She had encountered officers like him before, people who had made up their minds and weren't interested in facts that contradicted their assumptions. Sir, I'm going to need you to calm down and listen to what I'm telling you, Lisa said, using the same tone she would use with a suspect she was trying to de-escalate. I am a police officer and I'm simply shopping during my lunch break. Don't tell me to calm down, Williams shot back, his voice rising. And don't try to tell me what you are or aren't. I know what I see here. The crowd around them was growing larger, and Lisa could hear whispers from the onlookers. Some people were clearly on her side, while others seemed to be enjoying the drama. The situation had become a public spectacle, which was exactly what Lisa had hoped to avoid. Officer, please, Lisa said one more time. If you would just take a moment to examine my credentials properly, or make a simple phone call to verify my identity, we can resolve this misunderstanding. But Williams had already made up his mind. In his view, this woman was trying to outsmart him, and he wasn't going to let that happen. He reached for his handcuffs, and Lisa's heart sank as she realized how serious this was about to become. The afternoon that had started as a simple shopping trip for a graduation gift was about to turn into something that would change everything for both of them. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed through the jewelry section as Officer Williams stepped closer to Lisa. The sound made several customers gasp, and the atmosphere in the store instantly became tense. Lisa felt her stomach drop as she realized Williams was actually going to arrest her, despite her attempts to explain who she was. Sir, please don't do this, Lisa said quietly, trying one last time to reason with him. I'm telling you the truth. I'm a police captain, and this is all a big misunderstanding. Turn around and put your hands behind your back, Williams ordered, ignoring her words completely. His voice carried across the store, drawing even more attention from shoppers who had stopped what they were doing to watch the scene unfold. Lisa knew she had no choice but to comply. Resisting would only make things worse, and as a law enforcement officer herself, she understood that fighting back could escalate the situation dangerously. She slowly turned around and placed her hands behind her back, feeling the cold metal of the handcuffs as Williams secured them around her wrists. The humiliation was overwhelming. Here she was, a respected captain with 15 years of service, being treated like a common criminal in front of dozens of strangers. She could hear people whispering and see the bright lights of cell phone cameras recording every moment. Lisa knew that within hours, This video would be all over social media, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. "You're under arrest." For attempted theft, Williams announced loudly, making sure everyone in the area could hear him. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Jennifer, the sales associate, stepped forward again, her face red with anger. "Officer, this is completely wrong. This woman hasn't stolen anything. She was just looking at our jewelry, and she's been a customer here for years." Williams turned to face Jennifer with an annoyed expression. "Ma'am, I already told you to stay out of this. If you keep interfering, I'll have to arrest you too for obstructing a police investigation." The store manager, Robert Chun, had been watching from across the store and finally decided to intervene. He approached the group with his hands raised, peacefully trying to defuse the situation. "Officer, I'm Robert Chun, the store manager. I can personally vouch for this customer. She's been shopping here for several years, and we've never had any problems with her." "I don't care if she's been shopping here for 20 years, Williams replied sharply. "People like her are always looking for ways to take advantage of stores. Like this, they come in dressed nice, acting all proper, but they're just waiting for the right moment to grab something expensive and run." The racist undertone in Williams' comment wasn't lost on anyone present. Several customers looked shocked, while others pulled out their phones to make sure they were recording. Lisa felt a wave of anger wash over her, but she forced herself to remain calm. She knew that any reaction would be used against her later. "Officer Williams," Lisa said as respectfully as she could manage, "I understand you think you're doing your job, but you're making a serious mistake. Please just call your supervisor or contact the Metro City Police Department to verify my identity." "Oh, now you want me to call my supervisor?" Williams laughed mockingly. "Nice try, but I know exactly what's going on here. You probably looked up some police officer's name online and thought you could use it to get out of trouble." The crowd around them was growing larger by the minute. People shopping in other sections of the store had heard the commotion and come over to see what was happening. Some were clearly sympathetic to Lisa, shaking their heads in disbelief at what they were witnessing. Others seemed to be enjoying the drama, treating it like free entertainment. An elderly woman in the crowd spoke up. "Young man, I think you should listen to what this lady is telling you. She doesn't look like a thief to me." Williams turned toward the woman with irritation. "Ma'am, with all due respect, you don't know what thieves look like these days. They're getting smarter, dressing better, trying to blend in, but I can spot them a mile away." Lisa closed her eyes for a moment, trying to center herself. She had dealt with difficult people throughout her career, but being on the receiving end of such treatment was a completely different experience. The handcuffs were tight around her wrists, cutting into her skin slightly, and the weight of the situation was starting to hit her. "Please," Lisa said once more, "just make one phone call to verify who I am. Ask for Captain Rodriguez in the Metro City Police Department. They'll confirm everything I've told you." But Williams had already made up his mind completely. In his view, this woman was trying every trick in the book to get out of trouble, and he wasn't going to fall for it. He had convinced himself that she was a sophisticated criminal who had researched police procedures and was trying to manipulate him. "Come on," Williams said, grabbing Lisa's arm to lead her toward the store exit. "We're going down to the station, where you can tell all your stories to the detective." As they walked through the store, Lisa felt the eyes of every customer and employee following them. The whispers and comments created a constant buzz of noise around them. She could hear fragments of conversations as people discussed what they had witnessed. "I can't believe this is happening," one woman said to her friend. "He's not even listening to her," another person commented. "Someone should call the news," came a voice from the crowd. Jennifer ran after them, still trying to help. "Officer, please, I'm begging you to reconsider. This woman has never caused any trouble in our store. She's always been polite and respectful. Lady, if you don't stop following us, I'm going to arrest you for harassment," Williams threatened without turning around. Robert, the store manager, pulled out his business card and tried to hand it to Williams. "Officer, here's my card, please. Call me if you need any information about this customer. I'll be happy to provide character references." Williams knocked the card out of Robert's hand without even looking at it. "I don't need character references. I have all the evidence I need. Right here." As they reached the store entrance, Lisa could see Williams' patrol car parked outside. The reality of what was happening hit her even harder. She was actually going to be taken to a police station in handcuffs, processed like a criminal, and locked in a cell. All because she had tried to buy a graduation gift for her daughter. The automatic doors opened, and they stepped outside into the afternoon sunlight. The contrast between the air-conditioned store and the warm outside air made Lisa blink as her eyes adjusted. She could see people on the sidewalk stopping to stare at the unusual sight of a well-dressed woman being arrested outside an upscale department store. Williams opened the back door of his patrol car and placed his hand on Lisa's head as he guided her into the back seat, following standard police procedure. The plastic seat was uncomfortable, and the metal cage separating the front and back seats made Lisa feel like a caged animal. As Williams started the car and began driving toward the police station, Lisa stared out the window at the familiar streets of her city. These were the same streets she had patrolled as a young officer, the same neighborhoods where she had built relationships with community members, the same area where she was now respected as a captain. But today, she was seeing it all from a completely different perspective, from the back of a police car, wearing handcuffs, treated like the very criminals she had spent her career apprehending. Officer Williams pulled his patrol car into the familiar parking lot of the Metro City Police Station, feeling satisfied with his afternoon's work. He had prevented what he was convinced would have been a major theft at one of the city's most expensive stores. In his mind, he had done exactly what good police work was supposed to look like, staying alert, trusting his instincts, and taking action before a crime could be committed. As he turned off the engine, Williams glanced back at Lisa through the metal cage that separated them. She had been quiet during the entire ride to the station, which he took as a sign that she had finally given up her act. Most criminals eventually stop trying to talk their way out of trouble once they realize they were caught. "All right, let's go," Williams said as he opened his door. "Time to process you properly." Lisa had spent the car ride thinking about her daughter Ashley, who would be graduating in just a few days. She wondered if this incident would somehow overshadow that special moment, or if it would be resolved quickly enough that Ashley would never even have to know about it. The thought of her daughter seeing her mother arrested on social media made Lisa's stomach turn. Williams opened the back door and helped Lisa out of the car, keeping one hand on her arm as they walked toward the station entrance. The building was familiar to Lisa in ways that Williams couldn't possibly imagine. She had walked through these same doors thousands of times over the past 15 years, but never like this. The front desk was staffed by Sergeant Tommy Rodriguez, a veteran officer who had been working the desk for over 20 years. Tommy had seen just about everything during his time at the station, but when Williams walked in with his prisoner, something about the scene made him look twice. "Hey, Williams," Tommy called out as they approached the desk. "What do you have?" "There? Attempted theft at Prestige Department Store," Williams replied proudly. Caught her red-handed examining expensive jewelry, acting suspicious. "She tried to give me some story about being a police captain, but I wasn't buying it." Tommy's pen stopped moving across his paperwork as he looked up at Lisa more carefully. There was something familiar about her face, something that made him feel like he should know who she was. As his eyes met hers, recognition slowly dawned on him. "Oh my God," Tommy whispered, his face going completely white. The pen fell from his hand and clattered onto the desk. "What's wrong with you?" Williams asked, confused by Tommy's reaction. Tommy stood up slowly from his chair, staring at Lisa in disbelief. "Williams, do you have any idea who you just brought?" "In here? Yeah, some woman who was trying to steal jewelry," Williams replied, still oblivious to what was happening. "That's Captain Rodriguez," Tommy said quietly, his voice barely audible. "That's Captain Lisa Rodriguez from our own department." Williams laughed, thinking Tommy was playing some kind of joke on him. "Come on, Tommy, don't mess with me right now. I know you guys like to have fun with the new arrests, but I'm trying to do my job here." But Tommy wasn't laughing. His expression was deadly serious as he reached for his phone. "Williams, I need you to take those handcuffs off her right now." "What are you talking about?" Williams asked, his confidence starting to waver slightly. Tommy was already dialing a number on his phone. "Captain Rodriguez, I am so sorry about this. Let me call Chief Hayes right away." The mention of Chief Hayes made Williams pause. Why would Tommy be calling the chief of police about a simple theft arrest? He looked back and forth between Tommy and Lisa, trying to understand what was happening. Lisa finally spoke, her voice calm but tired. "Sergeant Rodriguez, thank you. Could you please have Officer Williams remove these handcuffs? They're quite uncomfortable." "Of course, Captain," Tommy said immediately. He turned to Williams with an expression that was part anger and part disbelief. "Williams, uncuff her right now." Williams' hands were shaking slightly as he fumbled for his handcuff key. "This has to be some kind of mistake," he muttered. "She can't really be a captain." As the handcuffs clicked open and fell away from Lisa's wrists, she rubbed the red marks they had left on her skin. The physical relief was immediate, but the emotional damage from the past hour would take much longer to heal. Tommy's phone call connected, and Lisa could hear Chief Hayes' voice on the other end. "Chief, we have a situation here at the station. Officer Williams just brought in Captain Rodriguez in handcuffs. He arrested her for attempted theft." The silence on the other end of the phone lasted for several long seconds before Chief Hayes spoke again. "He did what?" "Sir, he arrested Captain Rodriguez. She's here at the station right now." "I'll be there in 5 minutes," Chief Hayes said. And the line went dead. Williams was now starting to understand the gravity of his mistake. He had seen Captain Rodriguez around the station a few times, but always in uniform. Seeing her in civilian clothes, he simply hadn't recognized her. But even as the reality of the situation began to sink in, he wasn't ready to admit that he had been completely wrong. "Look, how was I supposed to know?" Williams said defensively. "She was dressed like a regular person, and she was acting suspicious in the store. I was just doing my job." Lisa turned to face Williams directly for the first time since they had arrived at the station. "Officer Williams, what exactly did you find suspicious about my behavior?" "Well, you were examining expensive jewelry for a long time, checking price tags, and you looked like you were planning something," Williams replied, his voice becoming less confident with each word. "I was shopping for a graduation gift for my daughter," Lisa said calmly. "I was checking prices because I wanted to make sure I could afford what I was considering buying. That's what people do when they shop." Tommy shook his head in disbelief. "Williams, did you even look at her police ID when she showed it to you?" "She could have gotten that anywhere," Williams said, still trying to justify his actions. "There are websites where you can buy fake police badges. Did you call the station to verify her identity when she asked you to?" Tommy continued. Williams was quiet for a moment. "I didn't think I needed to. I could tell she was lying." The front door of the station burst open, and Chief Hayes strode in with an expression that made everyone in the lobby take notice. Chief Hayes was known for being calm and professional, even in the most stressful situations, but today his face showed barely controlled anger. "Captain Rodriguez," Chief Hayes said as he approached Lisa, "are you all right?" "I'm fine, Chief," Lisa replied, though it was clear to everyone that she was far from fine. Chief Hayes turned to Williams with a look that could have melted steel. "Officer Williams, in my office, now." "Chief, I can explain everything," Williams started to say. "In my office," Chief Hayes repeated, his voice leaving no room for discussion. As Williams walked toward the chief's office, he could feel the eyes of every officer in the station following him. Word of what had happened was already spreading through the building, and the whispers and stares made it clear that his colleagues were not impressed with his actions. Lisa remained in the lobby with Tommy, who continued to apologize for what had happened. She appreciated his kindness, but her mind was already moving beyond the immediate situation. She was thinking about the video that was probably already circulating online, about the store employees who had tried to help her, and about how this incident reflected larger problems within the police department. Through the chief's office window, Lisa could see Williams gesturing as he tried to explain his actions. But she knew that no explanation could undo what had happened or take back the humiliation she had experienced in front of all those people. Within hours of the incident at Prestige Department Store, the video of Captain Lisa Rodriguez being arrested had spread across social media like wildfire. The footage showed everything: Officer Williams ignoring her police identification, the handcuffs being applied, and the shocked faces of store employees trying to defend her. By evening, the video had been shared thousands of times, and news outlets were already picking up the story. Chief Hayes knew he had to act quickly. An incident like this could destroy the reputation of the entire police department if it wasn't handled properly. He immediately called Detective Rachel Kim, one of his most trusted investigators, to lead the internal affairs investigation. Rachel had 20 years of experience and was known for her thorough, fair approach to investigating police misconduct. "Rachel, I need you to drop everything you're working on," Chief Hayes said during their phone call. "We have a situation that requires immediate attention." The next morning, Rachel arrived at the station early to begin her investigation. She had already watched the viral video multiple times, and what she saw disturbed her deeply. The way Williams had treated Captain Rodriguez wasn't just unprofessional. It suggested a pattern of biased behavior that needed to be examined closely. Rachel's first step was to interview Captain Rodriguez herself. They met in a quiet conference room away from the busy areas of the station. Lisa looked tired but composed as she recounted the events of the previous day. "Captain, I want you to know that we're taking this very seriously," Rachel said as she began recording their conversation. "Can you walk me through exactly what happened, starting from when you entered the store?" Lisa took a deep breath and began her account. She described browsing the jewelry section, examining the bracelet for her daughter, and the sudden appearance of Officer Williams. As she spoke, Rachel took detailed notes, paying special attention to Williams' behavior and comments. "He made several statements that seemed to be based on assumptions about who I was, rather than what I was actually doing," Lisa explained. "Even when I showed him my police identification, he dismissed it without really examining it." "Did he say anything that you felt was inappropriate or discriminatory?" Rachel asked. Lisa hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "He made comments about people like me and how we're always looking for ways to take advantage of stores." The racial undertones were clear to everyone who heard them. Rachel's investigation quickly expanded beyond just the incident at the store. She began looking into Williams' entire career, examining his previous arrests, citizen complaints, and interactions with fellow officers. What she found was troubling. Over his 8-year career, Williams had received 12 formal complaints from citizens, most of them people of color, who claimed he had treated them unfairly during traffic stops or other encounters. The complaints had been filed away with minimal investigation, often dismissed as the natural result of people being unhappy about getting arrested or ticketed. But when Rachel looked at the details, she saw a clear pattern. Williams consistently treated minority citizens differently than white citizens in similar situations. He was more likely to use force, more likely to make arrests for minor offenses, and more likely to escalate situations rather than de-escalate them. One particularly disturbing case involved a young, Hispanic man named Carlos who had been stopped for a minor traffic violation. Williams had searched his car without proper justification and arrested him for a small amount of marijuana that could have resulted in just a citation. Carlos had filed a complaint, but it was dismissed when Williams claimed the young man had been acting suspiciously. Rachel also discovered that Williams had been involved in 3 separate incidents where he had been accused of using excessive force, all involving people of color. In each case, the internal review had cleared him of wrongdoing, but the pattern was undeniable when viewed as a whole. As word of the investigation spread through the department, several officers began coming forward with their own observations about Williams' behavior. Officer David Chen, who had been partnered with Williams for 6 months, finally broke his silence. "I knew something wasn't right," David told Rachel during a private interview. Williams would make comments about certain neighborhoods and certain types of people. He'd say things like, "You have to watch out for their kind," or "They're all the same. I should have reported it, but I was new and didn't want to cause trouble." Officer Patricia Wilson had a similar story. She had witnessed Williams making inappropriate comments about suspects and had seen him treat people differently based on their race. He would be polite and respectful with white citizens, but suspicious and aggressive with minorities, she explained. "I thought about saying something, but the culture here doesn't really encourage that kind of reporting." The investigation revealed that several supervisors had also noticed problems with Williams' approach, but had failed to address them properly. His sergeant had documented some concerns about his attitude, but had never taken formal disciplinary action. The lack of oversight and accountability had allowed Williams' biased behavior to continue unchecked for years. Rachel also obtained security footage from the department store that showed the entire incident from multiple angles. The footage clearly demonstrated that Lisa had been behaving normally, examining merchandise like any other customer. There was nothing in her behavior that could reasonably be considered suspicious. The store's security director, James Park, provided a written statement confirming that Lisa had been a regular customer for several years and had never caused any problems. "She's always been polite and respectful," James wrote. "She's purchased items from us many times without any issues." As the investigation continued, the police union initially tried to defend Williams, claiming that he had been following proper procedures and that his actions were justified. However, as more evidence came to light, even union representatives began to distance themselves from his case. "We support officers who make honest mistakes in difficult situations," said union president Mike Torres. "But this appears to be a pattern of behavior that we cannot and will not defend." The community response was swift and intense. Civil rights organizations called for Williams' immediate termination and demanded reforms to prevent similar incidents in the future. Community leaders who had worked with Captain Rodriguez over the years spoke out in her defense, describing her as a dedicated officer who had always treated everyone with respect and dignity. Pastor William Johnson, who had worked with Lisa on several community outreach programs, held a press conference outside the police station. "Captain Rodriguez has been a bridge between our community and law enforcement for years," he said. "The way she was treated is not just an insult to her personally, but to every person who believes in justice and equality." The local chapter of the NAACP announced that they would be filing a formal complaint with the Department of Justice, requesting a federal investigation into potential civil rights violations. "This incident highlights systemic problems that go far beyond one officer," said chapter president Angela Davis. "We need comprehensive reform to ensure that this never happens again." Meanwhile, the viral video continued to spread across social media platforms, sparking discussions about police bias and accountability. Comments poured in from people around the country who shared their own experiences with discriminatory treatment by law enforcement. Rachel's investigation also revealed that the police department's training on implicit bias and cultural sensitivity was inadequate. Officers received minimal training on recognizing and addressing their own biases, and there was no regular refresher training to reinforce these concepts. The body camera footage from Williams' previous encounters painted an even clearer picture of his discriminatory behavior. In stop after stop, he could be seen treating white citizens with courtesy and respect while approaching minorities with suspicion and aggression. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. As Rachel compiled her final report, she knew that this case would likely result in significant changes to the department's policies and procedures. The investigation had uncovered not just one officer's misconduct, but systemic failures that had allowed that misconduct to continue for years. 3 weeks after the incident at Prestige Department Store, Officer Jake Williams sat in his small apartment, staring at the official termination letter that had arrived in the mail that morning. The Metro City Police Department had officially ended his 8-year career in law enforcement, effective immediately. His badge, gun, and uniform had already been surrendered, and with them went the identity he had built his entire adult life around. The investigation led by Detective Rachel Kim had been thorough and damaging. Every complaint, every questionable arrest, every inappropriate comment had been documented and analyzed. The evidence painted a clear picture of an officer who had consistently abused his authority and treated citizens differently based on their race. Chief Hayes had made the decision to terminate Williams without hesitation once the investigation was complete. The behavior documented in this report is completely unacceptable and contrary to everything we stand for as a police department, he had said during the disciplinary hearing. Officer Williams' actions have damaged the trust between our department and the community we serve. But termination from the police force was only the beginning of Williams' problems. District Attorney Rebecca Thompson had reviewed the case and decided to file criminal charges against him. The charges included false imprisonment, civil rights violations, and abuse of power under color of authority. Each charge carried the possibility of significant prison time. This case represents a clear violation of Captain Rodriguez's constitutional rights, District Attorney Thompson announced during a press conference. When police officers abuse their power and target citizens based on race, they must be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Williams had hired a lawyer, but his defense options were limited. The video evidence was clear, witness testimony was overwhelming, and his own words and actions had been captured for the world to see. His attorney advised him that the evidence against him was very strong and that he should consider accepting a plea deal. Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Rodriguez was moving forward with her own legal action. She had hired civil rights attorney David Martinez to file a federal lawsuit against both Williams and the Metro City Police Department. The lawsuit sought monetary damages and, more importantly, comprehensive reforms to prevent similar incidents in the future. "This isn't just about money," Lisa explained during a meeting with her attorney. "This is about making sure that no other person has to go through what I experienced. We need real change, not just apologies." The lawsuit detailed not only the incident at the store, but also the systemic failures that had allowed Williams' biased behavior to continue for years. It highlighted the inadequate training, poor supervision, and lack of accountability that had enabled the discrimination to flourish within the department. As the legal proceedings moved forward, the community rallied around Captain Rodriguez. A support fund was established to help with her legal expenses, though she ultimately decided to donate the money to organizations working on police reform. Local businesses, including Prestige Department Store, publicly expressed their support. For her, Robert Chun, the store manager who had tried to defend Lisa during the arrest, wrote a letter to the newspaper praising her character. "In all my years in retail, I have never seen someone handle such an unjust situation with more grace and dignity," he wrote. "Captain Rodriguez is exactly the kind of person we need in law enforcement." The trial of Officer Williams became a focal point for discussions about police accountability and racial bias in law enforcement. The courtroom was packed every day with community members, civil rights activists, and media representatives. Williams' defense team tried to argue that he had been doing his job and that the arrest was based on legitimate suspicions. But the evidence against him was overwhelming. During the trial, several of Williams' former colleagues testified about his pattern of discriminatory behavior. Officer David Chen, who had once been partnered with Williams, described the inappropriate comments and biased attitudes he had witnessed. "I regret not speaking up sooner," David admitted on the witness stand. "Maybe if I had, Captain Rodriguez wouldn't have had to go through this." The store employees who had witnessed the incident also testified, describing how Williams had ignored their attempts to vouch for Lisa's character and had refused to listen to reason. Jennifer, the sales associate who had been helping Lisa, broke down in tears as she described watching an innocent person being arrested despite her efforts to intervene. "It was clear that he had made up his mind about her before he even spoke to her," Jennifer testified. "Nothing anyone said was going to change what he had decided to do." The prosecution presented body camera footage from Williams' previous encounters, showing a clear pattern of treating people of color differently than white citizens. The evidence was so compelling that even Williams' own attorney seemed uncomfortable defending his actions. After a week-long trial, the jury deliberated for less than 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all charges. Williams was sentenced to 18 months in prison, followed by 3 years of probation. He also lost his law enforcement certification permanently, meaning he could never work as a police officer again anywhere in the country. The civil lawsuit against the city was settled out of court for a substantial sum, though the exact amount was kept confidential. More importantly for Lisa, the settlement included a comprehensive agreement for police department reforms. The city agreed to implement new training programs on implicit bias, establish a civilian oversight board, and create new procedures for investigating complaints against officers. Chief Hayes, who had been deeply embarrassed by the incident, became a strong advocate for reform within his department. "This incident has taught us that we cannot ignore the signs of biased behavior," he said during a department-wide meeting. "We have a responsibility to address these issues before they escalate to this level." The new training programs were extensive and ongoing. Every officer in the department was required to complete 40 hours of bias recognition training, followed by annual refresher courses. The training included real-world scenarios and emphasized the importance of treating all citizens with equal respect and dignity. A civilian oversight board was established with the power to independently investigate complaints against police officers. The board included community leaders, civil rights advocates, and retired law enforcement officers who were committed to fair and thorough investigations. Captain Rodriguez was promoted to deputy chief 6 months after the incident, a recognition of her years of dedicated service and her grace in handling such a difficult situation. In her new role, she became a leading voice for police reform and community relations. "This experience, as painful as it was, has given me a unique perspective on both sides of police-community interactions," Lisa said during her promotion ceremony. "I'm committed to using that perspective to build bridges and create positive change." She established new community outreach programs that brought police officers and community members together for regular dialogues about public safety and mutual understanding. These programs became a model for other cities dealing with similar challenges. Williams, meanwhile, served his prison sentence at a minimum security facility. He lost his police pension and found it difficult to find employment after his release, due to his criminal record and the publicity surrounding his case. The incident had effectively ended not just his law enforcement career, but any hope of a stable future. The video of the incident remained a powerful teaching tool, used in police academies and training programs across the country as an example of how quickly biased assumptions can lead to serious misconduct. It served as a reminder that police officers must examine their own prejudices and treat every citizen with respect. Years later, the changes implemented in Metro City became a national model for police reform. Other departments sent representatives to study their programs and learn from their experience. The incident that had started as a humiliating ordeal for Captain Rodriguez had ultimately become a catalyst for positive change that extended far beyond the borders of one city. Lisa's daughter Ashley, who had graduated from college just days after the incident, went on to law school and specialized in civil rights law. She often spoke about how her mother's experience had inspired her career choice and her commitment to fighting for justice and equality.